I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
Okay.
Yeah, that's uh,
Um,
that's the song that's stuck in my head since
that's
Dice
the
Cruise.
song.
I don't know why. Oh,
Yeah, I
I
don't either.
also played the Pokemon game recently,
Oh,
so
well,
maybe
was
that's
it
why.
Pokemon Splendor?
No, it was on Switch.
Oh, actual Pokemon. Okay.
I replayed the Sword and Shield and uh, and then they announced Switch 2 coming this year, sometime this year. Nothing else except there's Mario Kart, new one, and it's Switch 2. It's gonna be
I
more
hear a
powerful.
polka and my troubles are through.
Well, I'm gonna buy it anyway, and you're gonna buy
Okay.
it. It's gonna be a great song.
All right.
Sorry, not great song, great console.
I don't know what you're drinking today. You sure seem to be on one.
Catnip.
I got it.
All right, but we're here for a special episode, and I'm sorry in advance if my voice will disappear a bit because I'm still not
Oh,
recovered
never
fully.
apologize for that.
Okay. Well, yeah. So we were on the Dice Tour cruise. It was
It's true.
amazing. Uh, as usual, as my tradition, I get sick before, after, or during the cruise. It's
Of course.
always like that. So basically, it wasn't too bad, but I lost my voice and it was very loud there, and I don't know why, but I always tend to teach games when I'm not part of Kyle's play group. So when Kyle's not around and I play with somebody, I usually teach something, which
Mm,
made it worse. And yeah, each time I somehow got my voice back, I lost it again by teaching in another game. So
so it goes.
yeah, but it was amazing. So we had a great time. We visited three islands, three places, ports. Two
Mm-hmm.
of them were just private ports, and one of them was Dominican Republic, where we went on a small tour ourselves
We just
into the
walked
city.
around. There
Walked
wasn't
around,
much to
saw
see.
Pink Street, Umbrella Street, and I mean, later on you went your ways, and me and Victor, this is basically our um, core group. You, me, and Victor, who always travel together, and then the fourth person who is um,
A rotating
always
roll.
rotating role. Yes, the main three roles are there, and yeah, we went to see the I don't know whatever we saw in Dominican
You saw
Republic. Yeah,
some
we
kind
were
of a
just
fort and park, and
it was
then
Fortress. Yeah, it was something like that, and a guy with a I wanted to say pigeon with a parrot, not the pigeon.
they had those everywhere. Uh,
Yeah, the parrots are everywhere like pigeons. Anyway,
all right,
I'm sorry. And then we played a lot of games.
that's true.
And today, I think Kyle's gonna talk about Dice Tower Cruise in a different way during his Wednesday whimsy uh, next week. So
Yep.
maybe you can talk about some other shenanigans and your um, experience with some other stuff if you want to
Yeah.
talk about that. But yeah, today we're gonna just go through all the games we played briefly, very briefly. There's a lot of games. Some of games we played together, so uh, less talking on that. Some games we played in different groups.
Hmm.
So yeah, let me see. Where's here? It is the Dice
There
Tower
it is.
Cruise 2025, and I'm pleased with the list of games I got. I played a total of 40 different games during the cruise,
Okay.
and I'm okay. I'm also counting pre-cruise and after cruise. So my whole trip to Kyle's place, to the cruise, back to Kyle's place, and back home. While I'm at Kyle's place, I also play games, and I consider this one to be part of the trip, part of the
I
cruise as
see.
well. It just
Well, I only counted the ones from the time I arrived in Miami until the time I left. Um, so I will have fewer than you, but not by much. I have 34 actual on the cruise games, plus things played at airports and hotels. Um,
yeah. It just how it is. I take the whole trip as a kind of a Dice Tower cruise experience.
well, you
So
can pad the list a little bit.
yeah. All right. Without further ado, let's just start. Well, here we go. Ooh, fancy. And I don't know why don't I start?
All
Just
right.
just pick a game and talk about it. This is the one that you didn't play with me. I don't think you played it at all on the cruise. It's Wondrous Creatures.
Oh, I did
Creatures,
not play
yes.
that on the cruise.
Well, as you can see, I rated. So I went on and rated all of the games I played. This is 7.5. For me, uh, it might be higher if I play it again. So this is um, it's not a Tableau building in a sense. It has worker placement, but you place your workers on maps, covering stuff and collecting resources from the map. Then you're using it to play cards. It's a card game in a sense
It is.
with extra stuff on it, and then you have different those different resources you use, and you play lots and lots of cards and try to collect the most points. No cats in this game. Here we go. Where do we see some of the cards? Beautifully illustrated, but it's all about I don't know, like sort of an efficiency puzzle. I would
Mm,
say there are some things like when you pull back your workers, there are some cards that give you bonuses when you pull back your workers from the map, which is great. It's usually one of the most boring turns when you have to pull workers back and nothing happens. Like Dwellings of Elderwell did well with that, and then I think Andromeda's Edge did the same with
mhm.
that, where they kind of show that you can do a lot of stuff by pulling workers. Here, it's subtle, but still present. I enjoyed it. It was familiar in a sense with many other card based games, like I don't know, even Fall or something like that. Yeah,
All right.
um, enjoyable,
Yeah, I
beautiful
like
game.
this one. I didn't try it on the cruise, but I have it at home, so it's fine. I like it.
The production is great.
It
All right,
is.
your pick.
All right. So I went on the trip with a couple of games I wanted to try. And one of the first ones on that list of the must-try list was Tea Garden. So last
Okay.
year, designer Thomas Holek, Czech designer, had two great games that came out that I had tried, and that was SETI and Galileo. Tea Garden was his third of last year, and I was very keen to try it to see if it was anywhere near as good as the other two. And it was. I enjoyed it. Now, this is definitely the smallest and lightest of the games he came out with, and it's more of a deck
Hmm.
building game than anything else. But it's a fairly fast, simple game. It's 5 rounds, and it was very easy to learn from the rules. And really, what you're doing is playing out cards, and you are going to combine the cards however you like to make a certain strength value, and that will indicate the action or the strength of the action you're going to do. And then you pick one of the five or so actions and do it. And ultimately, there are contracts to complete, emperors to satisfy, and more importantly, you can get special scoring cards that can kind of help you to develop some focus and direction. I really liked it. I would pick it up. I don't think I'll go way out of my way and spend hundreds of dollars to get a European copy or something, but if it comes out sort of in wider distribution in the U.S., I'd definitely check it out again.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one I didn't play. I might
Ooh,
I might try it at some point because it's Thomas Volek. I still need to try Galileo Galilei first. This is on my
yeah.
priority list. This one is not. This one is. I don't like the looks of it, and I'm not huge tea. Well, though I'm drinking tea right now, I like tea, but tea themed
I,
games.
I would say we've got SETI, Galileo, and Tea Garden, but it's still good.
Hmm. He's in a streak. He's in a
He had a good year.
he, yeah, yeah. I think it's his first year.
It's as
Does
far
he?
as I know, it's his first year with sort of published games. Pawnscape is a small card game like the what is it?
It's coming
Uh,
this year.
a button shy game, I think. Um,
Okay,
but,
so
so that's what
he had
he's
3 games in
spreading himself around.
2024, something like that, right?
Yeah, he had three games came out in 24, and two were excellent and one was pretty good. So,
A new designer. Here you go.
hmm
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, my next one is the one we played together after the cruise. So, but I still count it. It's
okay.
Towns Folk
Townsfolk
Tussle.
Tussle.
Yeah, and this one I rated 7.5. I was about to rate it 7. Um, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
light and fun.
it's light and fun. It's a boss battler. You just roam around the map. There are different objects you can interact with to get some bonuses, maybe bad stuff. We played with miniatures that Victor painted as well. Um, so here we go, and there's a boss. There's like 3 different bosses, as I understand.
Four.
We went 4. Okay, 4. So
Yeah,
we
a full game is a series of four bosses,
okay. So we were killed on the second boss. It was
which
quite
is
hard,
fairly
but
standard from my experience. Um,
okay. It's a hard game. It's a hard game. Uh, Also because why it's not higher. It's first of all, I'm not a fan of boss battlers. As it is, it's just just roam around, try to slap the bad guy. That's the whole game, and then you
yeah.
maybe buy some equipment, maybe become better, etc. And then you roll dice and see if you're lucky enough. This one is also like the dice rolls are so luck based. There's
Oh
not
yes.
much you can
I
do
mean,
about it.
dice
At
rolls
least I
always
didn't
are.
see it. I didn't see a lot of yeah. We saw it with you. Like you just
Yeah.
couldn't roll well.
Oh, I missed on almost every die that game. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like this one. If somebody wants something that's sort of a story based game, the story's pretty light, but it's got very quirky
funny.
artwork.
Yeah,
It's the sort of backstories are humorous, and it's a low investment game, right? You can sort of have that campaign feel without needing to really commit to a campaign because it's just going to be sort of four bosses that you're going to fight, or you can modify it with the expansion. It has rules to do it sort of shorter if you want, because those final fights are more fun, but they're more challenging. It kind of feels like you sort of go around and then a boss happens to you and then you happen back. I have heard it described as almost a lighter version or a more family friendly version of Kingdom Death Monster, sort
okay.
of a similar type of uh, experience. But mine looks great and I enjoy it, and I'm always happy to get it out.
All right, yours.
All right, my next one is another one. This one was not on my to try list. In fact, I had dismissed it. The cover didn't look all that great. I wasn't really interested in it, but Victor kept pestering me about it. He said that he wanted to learn it. Oh, it looks so fantastic, and I suggested he could learn the rules if he wanted, but he demurred on that. So I eventually set it up, learned the rules, and played it a couple of times, and that was Joyride. Joyride was an unexpected delight, I guess is how I would describe it. It is a racing game, and it's a wild and chaotic racing game where you do have some control, right? I mean, you're really rolling the dice, and then you can use some of them as much as you want, or you can kind of re-roll them and go that way. And you're trying to go around a track, and the track is very open, right? You just have to cross checkpoints in a certain order, but you don't have to go in a certain direction. You can crash into each other and mess up each other's day. That happens. It's certainly not a heavy strategic game, but I have a good time with it. I thought it was a great time. I found one thing I liked about it is you could be totally out of it and still come back and either win or come very close to doing so. All the games that we played were pretty tight on that. I ended up purchasing a copy of the big box edition because it was just so fun and something that I know I'll play a lot. So this was an unexpected delight, but one I tried for the first time on the cruise. It was a joy.
To ride with it.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, I also really enjoyed it. I played it the first time. I'm sorry. The first time I played with you,
Hmm.
and then two more times I taught it to other people. We played it. I really enjoyed it. As you said, there are situations where like you're ahead and the other ones are behind, and then at some point they just are caught up to you because whatever reason, it's chaotic in a sense. So sometimes you get unlucky and crash or smash. They have a great turn where they get on a oil slick and then they can turn correctly and face the checkpoint right there, and then they boost
Right.
there is some risk risk reward situation going on. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is the one I'm seeking
Ah,
seeking out to buy at some point. I'm not a race game guy. I don't like race games. Look, I don't like Heat. I don't like. Uh, um, uh, well, the racing games I like are usually something that's not. This one is very broad. Yeah, as you said, this is very simple, broad. You can go this way or that way or the other way. You don't have to follow this line like in Heat. That's what I don't like to be cramped into this small space and then going rounds and rounds. It's boring. This one, do whatever you want. Crash into
yeah.
stuff, crash into each other. Mayhem, uh, a light mayhem, not down the road vendetta mayhem. But
Right.
really enjoyed it. Yeah,
Yep.
Joyride.
I was very surprised by how much I liked this one. So there you go. I like a pleasant surprise. And no, it's nothing like Robo Rally, as our comment says. Yeah, it's not sort of that programming experience, although there is sort of some chaos in there too. But
No, it's very different. It's
it's
not
a
Robo
different
Rally.
experience. It's more you've got
Joyful.
it's not a programming game.
It's a more
So
joyful experience.
oh well.
Yeah, well, Joyride. All right. Here we go. My next game is not so delightful. That we
Uh-oh.
played also. I think we played post cruise. The one that I didn't want to play at first when you read the rules, and then I said,
Oh, that
"Okay,
one.
let's play it."
And I
Just
got to
for
set it
the
up again.
for the
Mm-hmm.
tech. Yeah, tiny epic Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I I don't know what to
This was a
say. So
disappointment.
look, it's not. I think I rated it a 5 out of 10. It's not an abysmal experience, but the thing is that I you rotate that arrow there. It's random. For me, for some reason, I happen to rotate the same space many
Spin
times.
to the same space, yes.
Sorry, spin to the same space many times. It was boring. You just go around, do actions on the board, or remove tentacles, or try to remove the bigger baddies, and it's very easy to remove them. For some reason, you roll a lot of dice, and then yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
And then you collect the books, which you need the tentacle. You need the tentacles to collect those books, basically transcript pages. What I don't
Translate
know,
the pages, yeah.
translates. Yeah, and then eventually you collect those pages in order to fight the big bad. Nothing felt like Cthulhu. It all felt like it just a random mess in a sense. No, it's not
Yeah.
completely random. It was a
There
mess of a
was a lot of
game.
randomness there, right? I mean, we're spinning a spinner to decide what's happening, and then we've got a deck of cards that we're trying to find the right ones randomly out of. There really wasn't a whole lot of control. You're drawing random things from a bag as well. It just kind of felt
It,
like you tried stuff, and then the game occurred, and then you tried more stuff, but it never really had a moment of fun.
yes, a cool idea with that spinning thing, like you're going mad, and you collect tentacles to increase your movement, increase your collecting ability. But like as soon as you were near the page, you had to do the page. Otherwise, like you will be prolonging the game, and then you lose all of that ability. Like, no, like make
Yeah.
this ability thing a separate thing. Like you can progress. In this way, you're like, oh, I'm better in movement, but now I need to spend all of that. Like, what? I don't
Yeah,
know.
it just felt there weren't really any highs or lows. It was a flat game. It needed a player aid definitely because there really was no way to remember the turn other than going through the rule book 4 or 5 times. Um, it was. I'm gonna try it again before I give it my final thoughts, but I was unimpressed by Tiny Epic Cthulhu.
Yeah. All right, your next one.
All right, my next one is a game that was not really on my list, but some friends here locally told me that I needed to try it because they'd played one round and it seemed promising. And so I put it on my list, and that game was Shackleton Base. So Shackleton Base was another game that was just so exciting. It's one that is hard to find in English right now, so I'm going to wait for it to come
What is it?
out.
Sha-
It's spelled weird. It's I think Shackle.
Okay, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
Shackleton. Okay.
I think that's somebody's name. I don't love the name of the game, right? But what you're doing is it's an 18 turn game. So you've got 18 actions. You're going to be selecting a series of these little astronauts, and you're going to be using them for different actions. You can place them around the sort of around the sides of the board to gather resources or activate various tokens. You can place them onto this little bar that you see kind of in the right side there to build things and buy cards, or you can kind of send them out to this other kind of holding pen where you'll eventually get some back to your base and you're kind of building up your economy there. You're looking for points and there's a variety of ways to get them. And kind of the hook of the game is that there are 7 different corporations and you'll play with 3 every game. Picking 3 out of 7 seems like not a whole lot of variety, but there really is. They all change the game in small and subtle ways, giving you different things to focus on. Obviously, you don't have time to focus on everything with only 18 turns, but I found that I tried 4 of the 7. I didn't get to try all 7 because I ended up teaching the game every other time I played it. Uh, we had a rough learn. It was me. I'd kind of read through the rules, somebody else who'd watch a video online, and somebody who had played it once before but wasn't quite sure. But we got there. There's a lot of things
Yeah.
to remember, a lot of things you can kind of overlook. So you have to be aware of that going in. Now that I've played it a couple of times, I know how to teach it. Uh, I really liked it. I was very impressed by it. I really want to kind of keep exploring it and try all the different systems that it has to explore. It's not a short game. It's you're definitely going to be in there for a long haul, but it's one of those games that's really worth the effort.
Okay. Yeah. When you played it, I looked at it. It was like another Euro game in space. Whatever. Seems to be totally themeless. Probably is.
The theme is
Well,
the moon. There's a moon.
nice. I see. I see. It looks like another pulsar.
Yeah, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
the board doesn't do it any favors. It does not look great,
Yeah.
but it's
All right.
really fun to play. So,
Trust you. All right. I'm gonna skip some of my games because these are the games I played before. I'm gonna talk about new experiences.
yep, me
My
too.
next one is City. So that we played before the cruise, uh, like a warm up, and
Yep,
yeah, it's a great game.
pretty good.
It's as I said, the easiest way to say it's Arnak for me at least. It's Arnak on steroids because the cool part about that is this the best feeling you can get from Arnak usually is that you can squeeze out one more thing out of your turn, like, oh, this thing leads to that thing. Now I have the resource to do this thing. This kind of a chain reaction and combinations that you find in order to squeeze the maximum out of your turn. The same is here, but in a more serious form. and you go around. It's I don't know how much theme is there. I played only once. I'm not particularly feeling the theme that much, but I enjoyed sending probes out and then sending them on planets to get bonuses, and then eventually getting traces of aliens. Uh, Playing a lot with the cards, upgrading your base actions as well. Like you always feel like you're growing. Um, the
Hmm.
board is changing for you. You can go that path. You can go a different path. You can do with the I don't remember the antennas on planets, whatever they are, the outer circles,
Signals.
signals, whatever.
I keep forgetting that term. So yes, I've made a point to remember it.
Yeah. So there's a lot, and as you said, one concern about this game is that there are not enough aliens in the box. I'm sure because the game seems to be popular, there will be more. There will be more.
Yeah, if we end up with 10 to 15, I think I'll be happy. I like SETI. SETI was my number two game of 2024. I played it with you. I didn't play it on the cruise at all, but I did teach it a couple of times because I was waiting for somebody else or something, and I saw somebody staring at the rule book and staring at the game and thought, okay, that person's in for a bad time. Uh, so I explained the game several times because it's one that it's not hard and the icons are good. And once you sort of get into the rhythm, you'll understand it. But it can be a bit of a difficult game to learn from the rules.
Yes, it seems to be the one that you played for the first time in order to just discover what you can do.
Yep.
You will
Yep.
understand the game, you will play it, you will enjoy it, but it's like what like there's that thing, there's that thing, there's that other thing over there. Should I like go with that income or the other income? Like there's so many choices to make
Yep.
at first.
There are. Yep.
You need to figure this one out. All right.
All right.
Yours?
My next was another surprise. It was a surprise announcement, and then it was there. And that was the new game from Stonemeyer Games,
Oh,
Finspan. Finspan
spin the
was
fan.
sort of announced midweek, and then the Dice Tower people miraculous suddenly it materialized on the table, and it was all set up and ready. And Victor and I think played the first game of it on the cruise. We sat down, and I was like, "Oh, let's try this." And we invited you, and you said, "I don't want to play that." And
No, I
and so
oh,
yes, yeah, that's what you said. And then Victor and
I
I
didn't want to play that at that moment.
I see. And so Victor and I figured it out from the rules. And fortunately, this one is lighter on rules than its two siblings, Wingspan and Wormspan. Uh, but it's a fun game to play. And I would say, having played all three, and having played the other two many times, this one is the most different of the three. It definitely feels like its own style of game. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. I really would like to get it and try it again. I think a lot of people will find a lot of joy in it. Basically, it's the same idea. You're playing fish and keeping them happy, and then you're also laying eggs on them and hatching the eggs and moving them around. It was fun. It was fast. It's definitely on the it's faster than the other two, just because you start with stuff. You start with a couple of fish already printed on your board. You start with your starter cards that are just always going to be the same. I really liked it. There you go.
Yeah.
And you chose not to play it with us. Instead, you chose to play it with four random strangers.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just
I played it, I tried it, and um
not with us.
it's yeah, who cares? It's the lightest one of all of them, especially if you add expansions to Wingspan.
Yeah.
Wormspan is the busiest uh, base game of them all. Um, as if I would rank base games, I like Wormspan more than Wingspan, and I like Wingspan more than Finspan. Finspan is the lowest. It just Though if we add lots of expansions to Wingspan, then it's the best. This
Oh,
one
okay.
is it's a bit maybe too light for me. The stuff you can do is you kind of do it at first. It's great, and then it becomes boring in a sense. It just needs more of something, more mechanisms. More needs to be more different from Wingspan. It's just Wingspan. It's another, yeah. It does stuff differently. Yeah, it's just variation of the same thing. Wormspan did stuff different in a sense. Wormspan is more different to Wingspan than this one. You could say that this one, oh, you can pay with cards. Yes, it's just a new resource you can use. Uh, there's that clan of fish or whatever, school of fish and stuff where
Mhm.
you like it's so light that you already start with some stuff that you can pay with. It's very easy to play the cards out. There's no tension in that. There's those borders and stuff where you can play those cards, but uh, when you activate so you don't activate rows like in Wingspan, you activate columns uh, from top to bottom, and then you get those small bonuses. It's also like you always get something from the very start. You already can do all of that, and it feels unrewarding for me.
Mhm. And I found it quite
But the game is
enjoyable.
good.
I found one thing that I liked about it was how much of a jump start you got. There wasn't sort of those first rounds where things are a little slower. I did find one problem I had is in all of the games you have to remember to spend one of your action tokens to do each action. Wingspan, if you're very disciplined, you'll be able to do it. Wormspan, the fact that you have to pay the coin as a resource made it very easy to remember. This
Yes.
one, I was constantly forgetting to place my
Oh,
little
we were
token on the
all
board.
the time,
That
always.
was a bit of a problem. It was very difficult. There was no natural way to remember it. So, it requires a little discipline.
Yeah, because if you activate the column, then you kind of go through it. Okay, you will
It,
somewhat remember that, but then because the bottom bonus you have to cover in order not to get it
yeah,
again, you might do a mistake there. But just playing something on the side somewhere so you can play
yeah.
a card,
That part is
we
just easy to
we
overlook.
forgot. And then at some point we were always checking whose turn is it. Like at some
Yeah.
point we were like
Well,
discussing or somebody
that might have
asked
been
some
the people you were
questions.
playing with. Uh,
Yeah, it was partially because they were asking very simple rules questions for some reason. Maybe they didn't listen to rules. Maybe something else. Maybe they were just too distracted by something else. I don't know. It was
hmm
a funny experience, I would say, to play with those people. All right, let's get to the next game. My next pick is not so great game, children's game, Santa's Workshop, and
I
it's
didn't
the
play that one.
yeah, it's the new edition. It seems to be. I never knew, but it's a 5 for me. Well, look, it works. We played only the base game. We should have played the advanced game because I was like, I just took it out and I told Victor, let's play it. Let's just try it out. The easiest way is just to learn standard rules. So learn standard rules. There was really nothing in this. Like this game is all about just
Gee.
where is it? It seems to be all advanced stuff, but mostly it's a worker placement. You have 3 workers and you put them out, and then if somebody else puts out a gnome or whatever your token on the same workers, not spot, but whatever, the same spaces, then you kind of help each other. You get a small bonus. So you have to put the workers from left to right. So the one that will go there later will get more resources. There seems to be not enough resources that you can get in a sense. It just extremely simple, extremely straightforward. Yeah, you collect those deers as well of different names. They just give you points at the end of the game. The set collection thing. You got 7 deers, you get 18 points, whatever. Who cares?
Okay.
There was no game. There was almost no game, but it was the base game. So there's advanced
Mm.
game that I briefly looked into, and it seemed to be probably more fun.
Huh.
But this base game is just, yeah, for small children to learn the very, very, very basics of resource management and worker placement,
All
not
right.
for
Yeah.
grown-ups.
No experience with it, so I'll defer to you.
Yeah. All right. Yours?
All right. The next is a game that I didn't know that I wanted to try until I got an email from the publisher saying, "Oh, if you buy it now, you'll get some kind of a small expansion for free," and then all of a sudden it shot onto my list. I knew nothing about it, and I don't know, but by its title, it is connected to another game called Beyond the Sun. The game is Beyond the Horizon. However, that was not apparent just looking at the box. Beyond the wasn't isn't enough of a hook to create a series.
Yeah.
Beyond the Horizon is really an implementation, a re-implementation of Beyond the Sun. Beyond the Sun, a game from Rio Grande Games that came out a couple of years ago, and I really liked, even though it's as ugly as can be. It looks like just a whiteboard with cards on it. This one is,
Yeah.
they've added color. And although I'll tell you, this one, I don't know that this one is really much of a looker. It is far
It's not.
better than, it does look much better than Beyond the Sun.
It
So
has some art. Yes.
in this game, what you're trying to do is really develop a tech tree. And that's kind of that main board you have there. Now, I don't know, we barely fit it onto a huge table on the cruise. This is one of those games that I just don't know if somebody thought that anybody would play it when they just designed it because it's so big. But the core aspect of the game is you're placing out technologies, trying to develop new ones, and building upon those to sort of unlock other actions. There's income you're trying to generate, and we learned the game sort of from the rules and figured things out as we went. I don't know that we played all the rules correctly the whole game. In fact, I know that we didn't, but that's okay. I had a great time with it. I thought it was very fun. Your turns can be super fast. It's just going to be doing one of these actions, but your options become bigger and better as things go along. Are there some issues with this one? Yes, there definitely are.
A lot.
There's these little soldier things, and the tokens are constantly falling over. There are these little meeple things, or these little goblets, and I don't know who thought that shape was a great idea. It just is a weird shape, and it's hard to remember to flip it over. Um, but the game itself and sort of the core experience is one I really enjoyed, and I'd love to try again. I want to sit with this one a bit more before I get my final thoughts on it, but I really liked it. It was definitely something that was for me, and as soon as I realized what it was and what it was trying to do, I was in.
Yeah, this is the one where we disagree because I feel like this game is look, not a bad game, but lazy. Lazy in a sense of they didn't even try to implement a tiny bit of civilization theme, just a tiny bit. Like
Oh, there's a tiny
this,
bit,
there's
a
nothing. There's no theme. It's themeless.
very tiny bit.
It's themeless to the core, to the bones, because you have this tech tree. Yeah, cool. That's one good thing about the game. Not one good thing. Like there's some other things, like you progress on those tracks by basically you increase your income by putting the cubes out. That's cool, but you're putting the cubes out to that space where you get bonuses and just points. Okay, points. Thank you. Wow. Now you get to the tech tree. It could be that, like, this card could be writing. This card could be architecture. This card could be music. This card could be horseback riding.
I
It
don't think it
doesn't
is. It's only
matter.
4 starting text. Um,
Look, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's just symbols upon symbols, and you do some stuff to get eventually to get those, yeah, those tokens, columns out, and you put those tokens on them. It's clumsy, and then you get enough power to claim the tile, claiming the tile is either a small bonus, yet again, the same bonus that you get everywhere else, or you get points from that tile. You claim that tile. You manage to get that territory. You get 9 points. Oh, there's no X's in it. So if somebody says this is a civilization game, let's play it, they are lying. This is not a
Uh,
civilization game. This is a Euro game with a civilization mask on it. The tech
yeah,
tree, though it works technically, it's not a tech tree. It's just you you get you basically put your columns on two of those cards and they connect to the next card, but there's
yeah,
no tech in it. It's you don't feel like, yeah, these are like some kind of upgrades because, oh, now I can put out a soldier of strength 3. Wow. But it doesn't feel like an upgrade. It doesn't feel like a tech. It doesn't feel like civilization. It's a themeless, boneless game. It's not bad as it is, like a Euro game, but it's boring in a sense. Why not put at least some of the theme and the production? Yeah,
yeah.
production is
Yeah, I mean,
I
the,
don't
the
know.
theme is not the game's strong suit. The experience, if
It's
you
not there.
enjoy that sort of, well, it's there. It's on the cover of the
Where?
box. On the cover of the
Oh, I
box.
see. Oh, I
Um,
see. Okay, okay.
and but I enjoy this sort of
Yeah.
concept of I have access to things that you don't, but you can see what I
True.
can do and can build up to it like that.
True.
And I enjoy that part of the experience, and that's sort of the point of the tech tree, right? You can kind of get whatever you want, but you've got to work the way to get there. And if somebody else goes out that way first to discover, this is theater. Uh, what does
Yeah.
theater do? Well, that's a little hand wavy. But I really liked how fast and easy. Yet the game was long, but it didn't feel long to me.
Yeah.
I do wish. I'm hoping that Beyond the Three really pulls all the threads together, because Beyond the Sun was great, but had this weird area control game on the side. This one,
It's same
uh,
here, almost same here. It's just a small mini game. It's a mini game on the side.
yeah.
The main focus should be the tech tree. Just make a
Well,
tech tree game.
the
Don't make a
tech
separate
tree
game.
is the main focus. It's just what seems to get lost is, and it's the problem in Beyond the Sun, and also a little bit in this, is that exploration piece is less
Yeah,
fun than the rest, and
yeah,
it's trying to figure out what can be done with those texts to make them meaningful. Um,
yeah.
and I'm hoping that Beyond the Three, uh, beyond the tech tree, will really bring that together. But for now, I'm prepared really to enjoy this one.
And and by the way, when you discover a new tech, you get the card which is a famous person,
Yeah,
and it
he'll
gives
give
you a
you 3
bonus. And
points.
then you're like, it
Uh,
could be Julius Caesar. It could be, I don't know, Aristoteles. Whatever.
yeah,
I
you
didn't
get
care about any of the names of the
two
cards.
points. the
I only cared about symbols and points. Yeah, that's the thing.
the level three
Useless.
people, the level 3 people are more interesting, and we didn't get many of them out. But from what I saw, they give you
Uh,
some sort of a choice of take a bonus, and it sort of activates a universal scoring item for everybody,
it
which is a
didn't
little
even
bit
have
more
artwork
interesting.
on it.
And it has a picture of somebody. Yeah.
Did it?
So I
I
enjoy
don't
it, but
remember.
yes, it does. It has a picture of Middle Ages gentleman with wig. Um,
So you do recommend this game? I would say
definitely,
skip it because it's not worth it. But you recommend it. So
I do.
if you if you're towards Kyle's taste or mine taste, so you can decide then. All right, let's get to another game. Let's go a bit faster. Um, we're gonna talk about candy. Not candy of the sea, but
Oh,
candy you can get in a game called Rock Hard. Uh,
hmm.
1977, yes. So,
1977.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, 1977, yes. Cool cover. Anyway, the game looks fine. I wouldn't say it looks amazing. There are some components that are just amazing. And then I feel like they were a bit lazy on the art. I don't like the kind of a book type washed out. the, the art and the overall composition is not there for me. They tried to go with that kind of a style, and some of the components add to that style. Those levels that you kind of rotate, and you get the cassette, you get a vinyl and stuff. It's all great, but and paper money, all great, but the rest it just feels like not a great production. Just half-assed production. Now, the game itself, a worker placement game where you can enhance your worker with candy,
Hey.
because rock and roll, and do more stuff, but in a very limited way. You're trying to get more points, basically.
Hey.
This is the game about points, and then you go to work to get money. Then you are fired from your work because you didn't come to your work at some point, and
I
then
mean, fair
you're
enough.
trying to record songs and go to the festivals and perform at the festivals. Very there's some theme in some of the aspects of the game, and there's not that much theme. It's very Euro-y, dry worker placement in a sense. And this hangout area where you go couldn't really understand the thematic kind of a connection to it. I couldn't feel the thematic connection to it. It was just themeless. Get a card. It has a symbol. Collect those symbols. You get something. Very good. So overly, the game worked in a sense, but the theme was in the components, like the guitar picks and those levels and whatever. Turn it to 11 thing. It was in those components much more than in the game itself. The game itself is very dry. Yet again,
And
I
I have a
I was
different
disappointed.
experience with it. I find the game itself is much lighter than I think it wants to be. And I found that there
Yeah,
was,
maybe.
for me, it was very much a theme first game. I feel like this is the experience we want to replicate. Let's find
Hmm.
some game mechanisms to do it. And,
Yeah.
everything you're doing kind of has sort of is meant to kind of recreate your life as sort of a rocker in the 1970s. Um, but some of the things were a little bit random, like there's an event, and okay, it just turns one of your dials all the way up. Well, that's great, right? That's wonderful. But, maybe I didn't know that was coming, and had I known, I would not have spent as much time working on that dial.
Yeah.
Or, I have a manager that lets me do these things, but I have to pay them. That's all sort of thematically um, based, but it kind of the sort of actual things you do on your turn are a lot lighter than I think I wanted the game of this size to be. I like it, I enjoy it, but it's definitely not. This is one where I would say, are you really into heavy worker placement games or big Euro games? And if the answer is yes, I might say let's play something else.
Avoid it. Yeah.
But if what you want is sort of a light experience, if you grew up in the 80s or the 70s, and this theme speaks to you, and you're not really looking for heavy, rock hard rules, then this one might actually be a good fit.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't disagree that it's a lighter game. One thing that made me extremely angry, and if I would get a copy, I would just throw two cards away from this game. I would just throw them away, just rip them
Two
apart and throw
cards.
them away. Yes. When you use your candy, you turn over the card. That card is you get an extra action, usually. But there are two cards in that deck, which is you get zero extra actions. So you just spend a lot of time getting this candy, spending this candy, and getting nothing. Just nothing. Or there's another card where you can get two extra actions. Just because. Random. I got zero actions twice. twice in this game. Everybody else got +2, +1. Like, why? This is such a stupid, one of the stupid, like, it's the same as you just pull an event and it says you lose your turn. Like, it's something like that.
Yeah,
It's
you
just,
don't lose your
why?
turn,
You don't
yeah.
lose your turn, but the thing is, it's similar. Never do that in a game. It's one of the stupidest things you will ever do in a game. Never make it random based, like one player can get a hit because they pulled a card that said extra stuff, and the other one pulled a card and it said zero stuff. Just because.
Yeah.
Random. No. Should be
So,
put on fire.
and for me, I find that's one of those sort of mechanisms in there where it can feel a little bit random that might not be for me, but for people who again aren't looking for a tough as nails Euro game, might be enjoyable.
It's not about being tough as nails Euro game. It's about the
and
game design.
but it's some
Stupid
of the
game design.
wildness of there. I enjoy it, right? I know there's a possibility that I'll spend my resources and get nothing out of it. Um, but
It was unnecessary mechanism.
that's part of, I guess, part of the experience you're going for when you're using candy. Um,
It's an
candy is
unnecessary
unreliable.
mechanism. Yeah, you should just get, this is a candy, I can do an extra action. That's it. Why complicate it then?
I prefer.
What was the
I like the
cartwheel thing for?
complication. Well, it's because the candy is unreliable. That's what it's trying to simulate
Nah.
there.
Stupidest idea ever.
I enjoy it, but I don't love it. So
Let's get to your pick.
all
Unless
right. My next one is a game that I had wanted to play for a long time. I have a copy. It's sitting here, and no one will play it with me. No one will play it with me.
no.
And I was walking by, and I saw some people I know, and I said, "Oh, what you guys doing?" And they said, "Oh, we're about to try this." And I was like, "Oh, I've always wanted to try it." And they said, "Well, why don't you join us?" And I played a 5-player game of something, and 5-player games are not my favorite player count, but I'm really glad I did. I had a great time with it. This is Zoo Vadis.
No.
This is a mean and nasty game. This is an awful game. I loved it. What you're doing is you're trying to progress up this zoo to get to the end, and there's a limited number of spots at the end. And if you don't make it to the end, you score 0 points. So early in the game, everybody's really friendly. Every time you want to leave a space, you have to get support from a majority of the available spaces. So if it's a 5-space space, you need 3 yes votes to progress, even if it's empty, right? So you're going to either have to fill it up or get others to and work together. You can bribe each other. You can negotiate some sort of a deal, and each animal has a special ability that they cannot use, but you can sell the token to somebody else to use later. That's kind of the game, right? And as the game is early on, everyone's really friendly, but as soon as those spots start to fill up, again, in a 5-player game, I think there were 5 spots. I don't remember exactly how many, but I think there were 5. So it sounds like one for everybody, except there were 2 of these, neutral peacock tokens, which can just move up for free and can take a spot. And so, okay, now the 5 spots are 4, and somebody else gets in there twice. Now there's only 2 spots left, and there's 3 players who are gunning for them, and it gets really nasty at that point. And I think this is a game that I will play very rarely because it is such a mean game and requires a level of a different kind of player than the kinds I usually play with. The people I play with are more going to enjoy something like SETI than they will enjoy something like this. But if I find that group and I have that group, this is a game that I will definitely pull out. It was a fantastic production. The rules are dead simple. It's more about the interactions between people, and I found the tension to be delightful. I definitely did not win this game, but I really enjoyed it.
Okay. I'm still avoiding this game.
Yeah, I don't think you'll like
Not
this
for
one.
me. No. If I'm so hard on rock hard, with
Well, this one
those
definitely
2,
has. has no unnecessary mechanisms. There's almost none there. It's just move up the track and see if you can get somebody to
Be
support
mean to
you.
each other. Yeah.
Well,
All
not
right.
be mean, be smart. Be
Oh, I see.
nicer to yourself than you are to others.
I see. All right. My next game is River Valley Glassworks. I played.
Okay?
Uh, well, it's light. I gave it a 6. It's not bad in a sense, but it's not great as well. You takes you. There are different shapes of gems, so you use the shape of a gem to put it on a tile, and then take the stones uh, from either side of that
Yep.
tile where you put the stone on. You collect those stones in order to put them into those columns. If you stick to one color, you have to, if you put a certain color into that column, you have to stick to that color. You get points based on the rows and based on the 2 highest columns that you collect. The different points, as you can see, the further ones give you more points. As you get to 17 stones, you end the game. The river always kind of rotates in a sense. So if you take
It
something from
flows.
this glass tile, it flows. You put it on the back, blah blah blah. Just gimmicky thing. Uh, and yeah, the base game. I understand that there are expansions or advanced rules or whatever. The base game is a bit boring. One thing I didn't understand at all is that instead of taking um, tokens from a river, you can take tokens from this small pile on the side. You have to take exactly 4, but your own pouch or whatever you have only holds up to 5. If you go
That's right.
beyond 5 with your pouch, the extra tokens go into the -3 points pile on
Yes,
your
they
player
do.
board, which is like, why is it there? Why is this rule there? Why is this mechanism there? I don't understand. It's just an afterthought to somehow limit players or not give them enough freedom. For me, it was the stupidest idea. I feel like I should take any number of like I shouldn't have to take exactly 4. This is a pile
But
of
you can
5
only take
different
four.
stones. What?
You can only take four.
Yeah, but I want to take maybe 2, maybe 3,
No, you can take
because
four.
because because then the thing is that you will try to do like your most like you will try to deplete your pouch to 1 or 0 stones or whatever they are, glass stones, in order to take from that side pile. That's the only way. If you have 2 of them, you don't really want to take from that pouch in the center because you're gonna get minus points. That's a
You
stupid
are.
idea. And usually, and sometimes it happens in those games if somebody goes before you, and there's there are obvious choices. This game provides obvious choices. There's like the obvious thing, like boom, there are these 4. Sometimes you don't want these colors, okay, but
Okay.
usually you have some obvious choices what you get. Usually people get the one with the most stones on it, the tile with the most stones on it. That's it. And I always got this thing like a person before me just swept away the stones I wanted all the time. It
Oh,
happened all the time because it was the obvious choice for them as well. It's just so obvious. It's such an obvious game. It's too simple in a sense. And the other thing is that uh, um, you can basically, if you don't have a stone of particular, whatever, it's not stone, glass stone,
shape.
whatever, of particular shape, then you can use 2 of any other one shape, 2 of the same of the other shape, put them on there, basically giving others more stones, and taking stones from adjacent tiles. Now, why not just any 2 stones? Why stones of the same shape? Again, limiting player where it's not necessary. Why? So 2 things: limiting with that pouch thing, the central stones collection thing, and limiting with those shapes. Why? Doesn't work for me. It's not a great game. It's a fine game.
Yeah.
Don't limit.
See,
Expand.
I had a similar experience with the game when I played it the first time. I went back to it though, and I find that this game, after I'd played it 3 or 4 times, I was really getting into it, and sort of exploring how things go. And I don't know that this game shows well on its first time, but it's one that as I've gone back to it, I've really grown to enjoy. I find I don't usually play with all those expansion things. They're kind of meh. They're just sort of special power or something like that. But
Okay.
I like it as a 2 or 3 player game. I don't like it at five because with five it's kind of like what you're or 4 or 5 you're finding that you don't really have a whole lot of access to things and you can't really set things up. But with two or
Yeah.
three you really do. And I also find that the one actual question, the only problem I have with this game is kind of the same problem I have with FinSpan, is that it is very easy to forget to move your little marker along to track how many you have. Now, at least in this one, you can just count how many
Yeah.
are there. But if someone's not being diligent about counting their stones, that can affect the timing of the end game,
Yes.
which is unfortunate. I wish there were a more natural way to do that. But I find that as I've played this one more, I've enjoyed this one a lot more, and I enjoy sort of experiencing those sort of tension moments that were frustrating my first time, sort of anticipating them and figuring them out and trying to manipulate them. Um, can be an enjoyable experience, but again, it's one that you have to really go back to and play 5 or 6 times before I think you really start seeing all that it can offer.
Well, that's a problem. That's a problem with games, and I
Well,
would say it is a huge problem. Like you should not come back to a game several times in order to start enjoying it. This is not the
no,
way. You play the game for the first time, you should enjoy it from the first time. You can not, let's say, there's a possibility you will not understand. Like with City, I enjoyed it. I did not really understand what I'm doing. I need to play it again. This is the game I need to come back to in order to fully understand the game, but I still enjoyed it. This one,
yeah,
I will not enjoy it even after 5, 6 plays because I didn't enjoy it this one time. No, it's a very rare case when you come back to the game and
yeah,
you
it is. Now, I'll say
it's because
that
your
I
tastes
think
change.
this one definitely has more mass appeal, though, which is really what this publisher is trying to go for. And
Yeah.
many people really enjoyed this on the first time. I, as sort of a more experienced get player of games, found that I did not necessarily like it my first time. But I found that when I've played it with people who it's the only game they've played all year, or it's
Mhm.
been a while, like Ashley, for example, really liked this game the first time she played it, and that's because she doesn't play a lot of games. And I find that this one definitely has the crowd appeal. And if you sort of approach it as a game that you can play with just about anyone, then it
Yeah.
also opens up a lot of possibilities here. I can
Well,
tell you this one has been a major seller for them. They sold out of several thousand copies at Tokyo Game Market. Um, it has a lot of sort of initial play for a person who isn't into games. This one really sings, and for a person who is, if you come back to it and experiment with it, you might find that you enjoy it more.
yeah, opinions in games can change, of course, when you come back to it because your tastes can also change throughout years. Were games where I came back to a game and I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it before, but that's because my tastes changed. It's not because the game was. Yeah, you understand what I mean. It's. I'm not gonna if I'm gonna come back to this game today. I'm still not gonna enjoy it. I know myself. If I don't enjoy a game, I don't enjoy a game. I will give it maybe another chance accidentally many years later. I might enjoy
Accidentally,
it then. Yes, like sometimes it's just the only
I
like.
tripped and fell and found myself playing River Valley Glassworks.
Yeah, there were some games that I like. Oh, I can teach you like several cruises forward. Let's say it was like, oh, I
Mm,
know this game. I can teach. Okay, I'll play it. Whatever. It's because I rated it a 6. It's not a bad game, but it has issues. And I understand it's not for me. I'm not the target audience, but it's right there. It's still a hobby game. It's not a monopoly. It's not a
it definitely
mass
is not.
market game. It's not a mass market game. It's not. It's a hobby game, and for a hobby game, it doesn't work. So,
Well, I think it does, and I think a lot of people really will enjoy it. You might not have,
all right,
but
yeah, meh. Let's go. The next one.
all right. My next
We're not going
one.
to talk about all of them anyway.
No, we're not. I'm only talking about the new ones I've played. Um, my next one is one that I was very excited for. It was on my list, I think, of games I was excited to try this coming year. The game designers were there on the cruise, at least one of them was, and he had asked me if I wouldn't mind teaching him Voidfall. And so I said, "Oh, if I really have to teach you Voidfall, I will."
You love to teach Whitefall.
I love to teach Voidfall. So after I made that sacrifice, which was really no sacrifice at all, he let me sign up for to have him teach me his game, and his game is called Galactic Cruise. And Galactic Cruise is just fantastic. This is a big, or not mean, but big, long
Me.
Euro game. This one is very much your Euro game of Euro games, but everything in it is so smooth and works so well together. The game has one of the best player aids that you'll ever see. That doesn't look like the board. I think that was just some stuff punched out. It takes up a lot of space, as you can see, but really what you're doing is you are a cruise company and you are sending cruises. Now, these cruises happen to be through space. I think they really could have been on the sea, but doesn't matter, right? I mean, they have to be somewhere. So you're sort of setting up these cruises, and what you're doing is you're going to have to build up your ship, fill it with cabins for people to stay in, and activities for people to do. You're going to have to plan your cruise. You're going to have to go and recruit, sell tickets to the cruise and get people to come on it. And then you're going to sort of send it out and interact the various steps of the cruise. At its core, it's a worker placement game, but the number of workers you have is going to vary from round to round. You start with 2, you can buy up to 2 more, but once a worker goes on a cruise, he's out of commission for a few rounds, as he is also the pilot of this spaceship, and so taking people around, and you're going to get bonuses and benefits from it, but you can't use that worker, which means you're going to have to, it's one of those place and recall style games, where you're going to place and recall. There's a lot of technologies to unlock as there's just some you can unlock by an action. There's also bonuses you can get by sending people to certain cruise destinations. You can get all my workers are specialty workers, or I can have more spaceships and bigger ones, or whatever it is. A lot of things to sort of go with. I just found this one to be a real delight to play. Now, I'm glad I learned it in the perfect environment with the designer sitting next to me explaining this is this and this is this and this is this. But I'm confident from that little player aid, it's a several pages player aid and there's one per player. If I were to go back to it, that's probably all I would need to relearn the rules. I found everything really worked so well together. There was nothing that felt like it was extra. There was nothing that felt like this is a weird rule and it just seems to be here to solve for a weird case. I was really impressed. It almost would replace a game like Lisboa for me, or On Mars or something like that. Those sort of Vital Lacerda type games, and it looks like it's one. Honestly, it's the same graphic designer, but box size as well. It looks like it's that line, but it's not. It's different designers. I just found this to be really, really interesting, and have so much that I really want to explore and try again. I really can't wait for mine to arrive. So I was hoping it would be good, and I'm really glad that it was. I was not disappointed by this at all.
Yeah, this is the one I avoid and will avoid. Doesn't seem to be my game at all. And I was sitting next to you while you were playing.
You were sitting next to Dick.
Next to you both.
Across from me.
Across from me, or whatever. Doesn't matter. It felt like, just this heavy Euro game. Another
It
heavy
is.
Euro game.
Very much
Another
so.
heavy Euro game. Where,
This one
some
does
people
not
might-
lie about what it is. You'll look at that picture and you'll say, yep, that's a heavy Euro game.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Just moving the
There's
stuff
no doubt.
around, thousands of symbols and stuff. Yeah, it's
There are.
yeah.
There's a lot going on in this game, but I really found it to be very playable. So,
All right. Okay. Let's talk about maybe a couple of games more.
all right,
Not to make the episode too long.
sure.
Let me see what else I can talk about. Something bad or something good? Um, let's talk about. Oh, let's talk about Speculas.
All right.
The game sent to us by Daniel.
Yes.
Um, and this is a game that is a simple spatial puzzle, which I usually don't enjoy. I don't enjoy spatial puzzles. You know that, and everybody knows that who watches our show. And I would say, yeah, this one works. You choose recipes, which are white cards, and then you choose ingredients. You go back and forth, drafting cards, placing them in a grid or whatever. You're forming different columns and rows of them. And like this one scores points if it's next to a yellow. This one scores points if it's next to blue. And there's some other stuff. There's some. It must be different ingredients. It must be honey stuff. It must be same ingredients around it. Whatever. It's like it doesn't have much variety in the different scoring patterns. I would say I would recommend Daniel to look into that and get out more scoring variants. Definitely to make game last longer, to make it more replayable in a sense. But the free roam of how you are putting those not tiles but cards and the overall easiness of the rules is there.
Yeah.
So it's a fast, easy game. Boom, select a card, put it down. Boom, select the card, put it down. That's it. It works.
It's very
I
fast.
enjoy it.
Yeah, I had a good time with this. I played this lots of times. I showed it to lots of people. There was this scavenger hunt, or not the scavenger, some sort of a picture contest where you're supposed to take a picture with a game you thought that nobody else would have played on the cruise. And this was one just because we had the only copy. And
Yes.
I don't know that it was on anyone's radar, but it's so as a light game for just casual people, as an opener or a closer, this is really good. It's a very short drafting game. It feels like something else. I don't quite know what it feels like. It kind of feels like there's some games in that Calico. There's a game called Verdant, which is I think what it feels most like, where you're kind of making this sort of off room plant, and you're trying to sort of build those combinations. But this one it does so without a lot of the rules overhead of that other game. It's interesting. You can sort of specialize in one thing and sort of really build out one or two of your recipes, or you can be a little bit more diversified and have a lot of different ones. We also played with the small expansion where you were trying to complete some things in a certain get the
Objectives.
first
Yeah.
yeah, one objective. There was one about score your largest rectangle or something, and that was a nice little twist to it. I enjoyed it. I don't know how easy it will be to find this one, but I had a good time with it, and I think pretty much everybody that we played it with also had a good experience with it. So this was another positive one.
Yeah. mm, this one remind me. So the scoring patterns remind me somewhat of Mandala Stones. Two different games, but the scoring opportunities kind of feel like something. It feels like that sort of a genre of a game, like Mandela Stones in a sense.
Okay,
So
yeah. The
I don't know why,
one
but
thing I had with it was because you're kind of putting these cards out in in a pattern that is not predictable from the start of the game. It can have some table space issues, especially if
yes,
you're playing with a larger group. But
yes,
I mean, it's solvable. But just make sure you have plenty of space if you're going to play this one.
right. We both enjoyed, and Daniel, do more. Just more scoring opportunities, maybe more mechanisms. Make
Well,
it expand.
who knows? Maybe it will. All right. Well, you talked about a good one. I'm going to talk about a dud.
Oh yes.
So when I got on the cruise, there's some people I like to play with, and they always ask me to teach them
Me?
a game, right? I'll ask like Wendy from the Dice Tower, is there a heavy Euro game that you want to learn that you think I should just teach you? And she said she really wanted to learn a game called Algae Inc. And oh my goodness! So I learned this game. I
Okay.
set up this game. I played this game. This game is an absolute dud. Uh, this game try so what this is the final game from Game Brewer, I think, and it's you're members of an algae processing company, and you're trying to take algae and move it through a factory, and
Oh,
and make it into and
oh,
sell it across Europe.
my eyes.
It All right, so the game isn't much of a looker, but you've got four
What?
different specialties. It's definitely a lot of green in this game. Four different
Yeah.
specialties, like you can be the cosmetics department or the food department or the fuel department. It doesn't really matter. That's just going to be different ways you move your stuff across the board. Um, but this game tries to be all things to all people. But it is not the Apostle Paul. It is a game. And it fails to be anything. So
And
the
it's not a
core
prototype copy.
no, this is the final. The sort of core
Oh,
mechanism is that board in the middle. And you have this branching path. So you go to one area, and that means the next turn you can do one of two actions. And, okay, that's interesting, but the problem is it can be very limiting. And if you make a bad choice on turn one, you really have to, on your first turn, have planned, I want to end up all the way here at the end. And if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself really hurting because you'll say, okay, well, I have to activate a machine this turn, but my machine has already been fully activated, so I guess that's a waste. I could throw away some resources to sort of get a wild token to be able to do something I want, but I kind of need those resources. Then you have this board that's your factory board, and you're kind of moving things across, and there's three machines, and you'll activate everything in there. But it was kind of weird. It was like all the yellow ones activate, and the green ones activate sometimes, and sometimes you have to pay for them, and sometimes you don't. And then there was the polyomino board, and you start out with this board, and it's full of these tiles, and one action will take them from one board and flip them over and move them to another, and another action will take them and put them back on the first board. And if you put them on the board sort of after their second time, well, then you can score by making rows and columns and things that all touch each other. And, there's only 4 algae per turn unless people unlock the ability to buy different ones, and then you can get more. And ultimately, I only played it the one time. I put Victor through it, and Victor sat down and said, is this going to be one of those games? And I said, it might well be. And he boldly and cheerfully sat through it, and we were both looking at each other halfway through the game and thinking, this is terrible, isn't it? But we finished the game. There's also a separate board where you can sell things, and you can like make chains of things to sort of sell them, and then if you do certain combinations, you get a token, and you can turn those tokens in for an extra turn if you want one, but then you don't score anything for them. It's just there's so much going on, but none of it is well done. Rather than
mm-hmm.
like we talked about Beyond the Horizon, which really said, here's this tech tree piece. This is going to be the fun part. Go and do that. And that part was well developed, and there was stuff on the side. But that part, at least, there's something to do. This one, it was like, well, we want to throw in some polyominoes. Why? Well, because people like those. We want to have 4 different factories, but they weren't different enough. It was like I was making fuel, and fuel was worthless unless I'd refined it a couple of times. So I had to move it over and then move it down 3 levels. Victor was doing hamburgers, and they were great, except if you don't use them, then they go bad. So he wasn't able to store his stuff, so he had to use it each round. Okay, great, but that's not as asymmetric as I think anybody would think it was. It was just when you can use things. This one, I mean, it took a lot of space. The rules were confusing and difficult to parse. But ultimately, the real problem is the game was just not fun at all. It felt like the action selection just kind of happened to you, and I really thought this was going to be amazing. I I sat down with Wendy and said she played Joy. She sat down with Joyride, and I said, by the way, let me tell you about Algae Inc. So we didn't end up playing that one because I don't think I'll ever play it again. But this was an absolute stinker for me. Really one to avoid. I'm glad that I played it on the cruise because now I'll never have to search it out, never have to play it again. But I
Well,
really disliked this one.
maybe it opens up on a fifth or sixth play.
It might, and if it were
You should
20
play it
minutes, if it
five or
were a 20
six.
minute game, I would play it 5 or 6 times, obviously.
Uh,
But this, or in a heartbeat. But this one takes a couple of hours, and is
well,
not going to have the sort of initial appeal to anyone.
you
Right?
have time.
This is not one where I can just sit anybody down and play it, and in 20 minutes we're done. This is one where I sit it down, and then 20 minutes later we finally set it up, and 30 minutes later we've gone through the rules, and then 2 hours later we're halfway through the game. So it's not going to get multiple plays. If it were 20 minutes, yeah, I'd give it lots of chances. But for 2.5 hours, absolutely not.
You can play it again with Victor.
Victor will
You will
never
love
play
it.
this again. Victor rarely tells me no on a game, but I'm pretty convinced he would have strangled me if I told him he had to play this again.
Kyle,
Um,
no, I will not play it. No,
I don't
please,
like that
Kyle,
game.
no. I don't like that game.
There are so many other games we can play. Hey, I made him sit through 12 games of Clank Legacy 2.
Nice. All right. The last. Let's do the last two. One of
Okay?
mine, one of yours. Okay.
All right.
There are many good games. What should I talk about?
Way too many
Oh,
cats? No,
no.
no.
I mean, we had enough bad games. We talked. I trashed many of the games. So this one is Fellowship of the Ring trick taking game, which
All
is a
right.
new one
Yes.
we played. And as some people know, I'm not the biggest fan of trick taking games. Well,
Whereas I love them.
yeah. So two opposite souls trying to comprehend if they like the game or not. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Good.
This is the one. I wasn't fan of the crew. I will never play the crew again because it's boring. This one, maybe because of the theme, though, is there's not much theme, but there is some theme.
There is.
Um,
And we didn't read the story cards, but I think if you read them, you would find there was a little bit more.
yeah, but the gameplay itself, it's themeless. It's a trick taking game, but like for example, Frodo will always start with the One Ring, for example, a little bit of theme. And then you have those different roles, and if you go through the different scenarios, you will add characters. You will some characters will go away. They have special rules of how they react. Like Frodo needs to win a certain amount of rings. Another person needs to defeat the Nazguls. Another person needs to win exactly one trick or exactly two or three tricks. Not exactly two or three, like two or three tricks.
Yeah.
Uh, so we didn't go through all of the rules.
No, we
We
didn't.
we,
We
we
played
never saw
six
Aragorn.
six
We
or
never
so
saw
scenarios.
yeah. So there might be more different. I'm sure there are more different scenarios. This one works. I enjoyed it. It was fast. It was fun. We failed, and then we just played it again. Like
Yeah.
boom,
I mean,
yeah. Shuffle the cards, play it again.
shuffle the cards, play
Choose new,
again.
yeah. Choose new roles, whatever. And at some point it becomes like some roles, like for example, Frodo role is random. If you get the one ring, like in here,
You're stuck.
uh, you stuck with it. You stuck with Frodo. So the roles can change. You will not be able to always take the same roles, and you should not take the same roles all the time. You should, if you fail with the role, try it again.
Yeah.
If you like, you can. I like how you can change roles between the different scenarios. So overall, I enjoyed the game. I'm still not the trick taking games fan, but this one, yeah,
Yeah,
I would
I
recommend.
liked it. I bought a copy. I'll enjoy playing it again. I mean, it will have lots of comparisons with the crew because it's a similar experience, especially the second crew, where you have, you're taking the missions that are kind of a random deck that are put out. And that's fair. I mean, I think it's clearly inspired by that. This one, the theme. Look, I don't love the Lord of the Rings books. This is based on the Lord of the Rings books, and you end up with some weird characters that show up in the books, but not the movies. But I like the game. I like cooperative trick taking. I like, okay, I'm stuck with this mission that's going to be really hard. How am I going to do it? I like that, you can kind of pick which of the roles you want. You're like, well, okay, I've got a good hand for this character. I'll try that one. I don't know. One of the scenarios I didn't like, and that was the one where there was that sort of we took out one of the suits and then it played a card at random. And the reason I didn't like that was because it was easy to forget. And I don't like things when there's sort of some extra thing that you have to do that you'll forget about. But um, I thought most of it was very tight, very enjoyable, a good cooperation, and just a fun game that I would like to sort of find somebody or three people that I could play kind of from start to finish and go through the whole story with. I think that would be a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yep. All right.
All right.
Your last.
So my last one is also a cooperative game, and
Ooh.
it's one that was there. The game exists, it's been published, but they were kind of prototyping and workshopping a redesigned version of it. This was the people from Play to Z. And the game is called The Brain. Not the mind, The Brain. And this is a weird game. This is a weird game, but basically,
That one.
yeah, that's the one. Um, And again, the one we played with was very prototypey because the guy was kind of workshopping some of the sort of a redesign of it to make it a little bit friendlier. But basically, what you're doing is you're working together, and your goal is to have fewer than 7 cards at on the table, sort of in that center area, at any point in the game. And if ever you have 7 cards at the end of a turn, you lose. But what you're going to do is you're playing a card. On your turn, you must play a card. And the card can do any number of things. It could allow you to give a card face up to somebody else to keep in front of them so you know that they have it. Or it could eliminate, for example, kill all the yellow cards from the middle. So you're going to save that one until there are a lot of yellow cards and play it out. But you have to play cards. And so, if you wait too long, well, you're going to find that you're not able to use it at the right time, and you want to keep that sort of total less than 7. And it's no communication, although we were all learning, so we may have broken that rule a little bit, uh, mostly because nobody could remember what the symbols did, which was some feedback that we gave to the publisher there. Um, we got to have some better symbols on this thing. But it's possible, for example, there's one card that kills all the yellows in the whole deck. Um, but once it's played, it's out there, but some cards can take it back. And so sort of by handing people certain cards face up or by playing things, you're sort of giving clues as to what might be a good idea to do. And the game's very fast. I mean, you're talking 10 minutes here. This is not going to be an all-night experience, but it's a very interesting cooperative puzzle that you're solving together, and it's a dynamic puzzle. And I had a good time with it. In fact, we played it right again. I was like, I want to try this again now that I know what all this stuff means. I want to see how this goes. So, look, this is never going to be the best, anyone's favorite game, but it's really a good one that I think if you like that kind of cooperative trick taking, this is an interesting spin on it, although it's not a trick taking game. But it gives you that sort of interesting changing puzzle that I always find tingles my synapses, and I had a good time with it.
Okay. Fine. All right. Here we are. Now, yeah, we don't have much time, but
Um,
what I will do right now is I'll just do a blitz review, the extremely blitz review of the games that we didn't talk about. Um, you'll see it. Oh, I'm sorry. See it in a moment. Here we go. Um, games we didn't talk about. What I played. Okay, Primal the Awakening. It's fine. Mountain
It's
Goats.
amazing.
Goats. A dad.
It's great.
Mistborn, the deck building game.
It's good.
It's fine. Minos, the Dawn of the Bronze Age. Nah, don't
I
care.
love it.
A Message from the Stars. Didn't understand at
I
all.
really wish I could play that one. I've never been
Nah,
able to play it.
I didn't understand it. Kelp, Shark versus Octopus. It's
I love
fine.
that one.
It works. Jewels for the Emperor Penguin. A
Yeah,
dot. Ugh, stinky. Invincible. Fine co-op. Doesn't look great. Um,
it's true. It does not look great.
Harmonies. Not for
I
me,
loved it.
but for Azul people, probably.
Azul people.
Yeah, those Azul people. Uh, Guardlings. A dot.
I love Gardening.
Same as Quacks. Don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fairy Ring. Already forgot about that one. It was
I love
fine.
Fairy Ring. Fairy Ring's a delight.
Uh, Explorers of Navoria. Somewhere in the middle. Not enough. It was fine. Endeavor Deep Sea. Good. Enjoyed it. Not the best game ever, but fine. Anunnaki, Dawn of the Gods, one of the best games I played during
One
the
of the
trip.
best games of the year.
Probably as well, yeah. Way too many cats. Way too many cats. It's not a good
Not
game.
for me.
Not for many people. For cat people. I'm a cat person. Not for me. Fate Flap, which I played basically solo. I played it with Victor in a sense that we
You played it with me
kind of decided
at the
together. I
airport.
played it with you, and yeah. It's
It
fine.
was fine.
It's fine. An
A little
airport
random,
game.
but fine. Yeah.
Just read and choose. Captain Flip. It was fun. Enjoyed it
Flip's lots of
more as I
fun.
played more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not amazing, but fun enough. Things in Rings. A small surprise. I enjoyed it, but very fragile.
Very. But fun.
Ito.
I
Lots of
love
fun.
Ito. Mm-hmm.
It's the mind that has some game in it. I mean, at least
Yeah.
like it's the mind with the fun aspects, like where you can come up with some weird stuff.
Where actually interacting with people and not
Yeah,
just playing cards. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. You're like, so the worst thing to ride, the best thing to ride, the worst thing to ride, the best one is a beautiful horse. The worst thing to ride is a cockroach. Whatever, you know, like
I
all those
think it was a
things.
porcupine. But
I don't know. Whatever. Fairy.
I love Fairy.
Good, simple, fun, small, 5 minutes. Bombusters. That's a bomb. That's a good one. Really good, really good.
It's very good. I love Bombusters.
Yeah. All right. These were mine. Just going through real fast.
Yeah, the only things, let's see, I think you hit all of mine. The rest are stuff the only one that you didn't have on there that I played, which wasn't new for me, but I did play it on the cruise and I played it a lot since and before, is Fromage, which is a delight. It shouldn't work, but it really does.
Cheesy game.
It's a very cheesy game.
That was a cheesy answer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And here we are. We've done it. We could have talked about all of these other games, but it's just
That's all right.
too many games.
There's lots of games.
Lots of games.
Yep.
I played a lot.
I played 73 games from the time I left Atlanta until the time I returned. Sorry, 73 plays, and that's 34 individual games.
That's a lot.
So,
I had
and
only
14
60
of them were new
plays.
to me.
Hmm.
Well,
It
you
says
said you have 60, but you're counting an extra couple of days onto that. So
yes, yes. So I didn't play that much on the cruise, and some of the games I played were longer than expected,
that's that's always the case.
like Finspan. Um,
Well, that was
much longer than
your
expected.
mistake. You had an opportunity to have a better first FinCEN experience, but you passed.
Well, I had. I mean, I enjoyed the game. I didn't really enjoy the surroundings.
5 players is rough for a game like that. I don't know why they keep doing
We
that,
couldn't
but
say no. We're like, it's
mm,
set up there. Yeah, it shouldn't be
well,
5 players. I said we should play 4 player, and then one person was like coming in there, like, ooh, and then some other person like, join us, and I'm like, what can I say now? Don't. You're not
that's the
invited.
correct answer. Is oh,
Yes,
why don't you two
I
go off and play Summoner Wars while we play FinSpan because it's not going to be great at 5. Uh,
yeah, whatever. No, it was funny, and some people were really funny. Gamers are different. Some of them are
that's
not
true.
meant
Well,
for me to play with.
and it's not just sometimes it's a person and sometimes it's just the number of people involved and lots of distractions, right? If there's lots of things going on, people are going to get up or get distracted and not be able to take their turns efficiently, and in a 5 player game
Yes,
that can be definitely
that
a problem.
happens. And waiting for a turn for a long time. Yeah. So overall, I enjoyed my time on the cruise and enjoyed people I played with. Enjoyed meeting people I played with.
Yep.
That's what I meant. I had some older folks that I saw. I had some. I mean, not older, but the people I saw before in previous
Hmm.
cruises. I saw them again. I played with them again. It was a great time.
Great.
Um, the couple, Rachel and Jim, amazing
All right.
gamers. I love to play with them because they are on point. They
Good.
know the rules. They're always funny and
Yep.
lovable characters. And there were some people that I enjoyed playing less with. It just happens. Not my crowd. Not my type of person. And some there were some I would say some characteristics that you could find on top 10 most annoying gamers
Sure. I
lists.
mean, it's a big
You can
group. You're going
find
to
anyone.
find.
I don't want to be rude to anyone, but it's just how it is. And you should
I don't want to be
you should
rude. I have to be.
I have to be. I mean I want to be honest. If you have a huge AP problem, you should deal with that. You should learn how to not be AP prone player. It's learnable. You can. And if you are very easily distracted, you should work on that because it's gonna
Or,
annoy
yeah,
other people around you.
that's true. Yep, I had a good time too. I, of course, am seeing lots of people. This is my 8th Dice Tower cruise, I believe. I've been on them all, and
Seventh
you
for
sort of
me, yes.
start to see the same people, and it becomes kind of like a reunion. A lot of the same people that I see also go to the retreat, so I'm seeing people there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You talked about I told them about this game we played. Can you teach that to us? Or we got to try that again." That's always a fun thing, and so I don't think I'm going to as many game conventions this year. I'm just going to retreat and well the cruise next year, as far as I know, unless somebody says, "Hey, let's go to Gen Con." Um, I'm always down for something, but yeah, I had a great time with it. I had a good time. Some issues on the cruise that were unrelated to games were less fun, but but those involved
Well,
the health of one of our
you might
co-passengers.
talk about
But
that
that's not
on
related
Wednesday.
to what we're talking about here.
Yeah, you'll talk about the cruise more on Wednesday.
Hmm.
Anyway, thank you for watching. We see
Yeah.
you next time.
All right. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.